2020, when George Floyd's murder in the United States sparked a global movement of riots fueled by the erroneous and widely debunked critical race theory. Taking the knee became the symbol of this dangerous movement and even crossed the Atlantic and infected a certain British political party. Here was the leader of the opposition cynically signalling his support for a movement that actively and aggressively demanded the defunding of the police. But a twist in the tale has emerged today. Shadow Home Secretary Yvette Cooper announced Labour's plans to fund 13,000 new police officers, as well as tackle some of the procurement cost disparities. So in a few years, we've gone from defunding the police to funding the police. I suppose Labour can only hope not to have a repeat of this old gem.
So how much would 10,000 police officers cost?
Well, if we recruit the 10,000 police men and women over a 4-year period, we believe it'll be about £300,000.
£300,000 for 10,000 police officers? What are you paying them?
Well, that was very unfair, but I'm joined now by former Labour Minister Ivor Captain. Ivor, thank you very much for joining me this evening. Do you think that
to that again?
I know. It's a bit unfair because all of us make mistakes in interviews and they get repeated. So I have a certain sympathy with Diane Abbott. But this is quite a big change by the Labour Party, isn't it, from supporting an organisation that wanted to defund the police to 13,000 more police officers?
Well, I think you're looking too far back there, if I may say that. But just on the issue, I think this is actually good policy by the party to actually come out and say, look, in our view, we need to change the policing. We need more policing. We need particularly neighbourhood policing, which we would all recognise as a former MP and you as an MP, we would all recognise that in Somerset you need people on the neighbourhood. And that's one of the things that has lost its way over the last 5 or 10 years, and it needs to come back because it was one of the strengths in the 97 onwards Labour government that actually helped Labour, I think, in that period of time. So to get that done of 13,000, that would be a huge change in where the police is. And I think it will be welcomed across the country.
Well, it's really interesting then the politics of it, isn't it? Because Keir Starmer is just copying the Blair playbook, tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime, backing the police. It's really moving the Labour Party away from the left-wing habits of Jeremy Corbyn.
Well, I think those habits have gone a long time ago. I understand why whenever I'm on GB News, and I very much enjoy these appearances, but everyone wants to start with the fact that they want to go back to 2019. We're a long way past that now. We're nearly 5 years past. We're preparing for a general election. Of course, we would like to win because we haven't won that many general elections in the last 30 years. But as I've said many, many times, at the moment, not a single vote has been cast. Therefore, there can't be any complacency in the Labour Party. We have to have, the right to ask the public to vote for us. And I think things like policing and neighbourhood policing in particular, I think will be welcomed by the British public.
But it is interesting that, without suggesting you wanted to go back to 2019, that the Labour Party, when it has won elections, has generally done so when it's adopted a few right-wing policies. So Harold Wilson moved quite firmly to the right, having started off as a very left-wing figure, gets his majorities in 64 and 66. Blair, as father was a Tory association chairman, was not unsympathetic to some right-wing causes, adopted conservative spending plans. Starmer moving into this category. Is there any backlash from the left in the party? Are they concerned? Are they causing trouble?
I've said many, many times that actually the Labour Party is not either left or right. I have always thought it's something in between those two things. And that means you can look, and Harold Wilson and Blair are good examples of how they looked at becoming Prime Minister in a very different way to how those who didn't become Prime Minister tended to look, if I may say that. And I wasn't just talking about what happened in 2019. There's other instances before that as well that didn't work out. So I think there is good policy at the moment in terms of what we've seen today on the policing. And I think that will be something that other people will want to look at and then say, well, this is a good thing. And I genuinely think that the party has got itself in the right place now. And Keir has done a really good job in leading on that.
And hearing Labour spokesmen saying that they needed to be tougher on shoplifting and things like that. I mean, taking up basically Tory, if not Reform Party themes, appealing to some of the voters in the Red Wall who were lost a few years ago.
Yeah, I think, Jacob, if you look at the issues around neighbourhood policing, and I've focused on that just today because I think it is one of the main issues that we've lost track on. But one of the things is about serious crimes. And if you've got neighbourhood policing, it is much easier to at least get the starting point of investigations going for policing that we would all understand, as I said earlier, as former or current MPs. And to do that, you've got to be able to get the right judgments and the right bits of judgments into the right place. And I think that's where the neighbourhood policing will really help the country in this. And I think people will say this is a very good move.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for joining me, Ivan.